This is Ken Pyle, and we're at the 2014 BroadbandVision show with Jeremy Graves. Jeremy, you moderated a panel on competing with the conglomerates. Why don't you give us an overview of what that's about?
Yeah, sure. So I was actually one of the panelists on there. We were talking about the AT&T and DirecTV, merger, and the Time Warner Comcast merger. And so, of course, we're trying to bring to market, what are the strategies to try to compete with those folks. And so one of the things that we tend to focus on is obviously effective marketing at Pivot, but there's a lot of other elements to it. It's great research and marketing. And one element that I think all the panelists agreed on is that we have not done a great job really training our staffs to compete with those folks. We have to have great products and you have to have competitive pricing, but whenever we begin to drive customers into us, if we don't have our staff who are really prepared to be able to turn those leads into sales opportunities, we're really missing the boat. So all the panelists really agree that experience that we have to give to the customers is a priority for us.
So is it just knowing about the products themselves and the services you provide, or is it more than that?
Yeah, well, it's obviously more than that too, right? But you have to start there. So what's interesting is when we go out and we do training with all of these broadband companies, a lot of times we'll ask the staffs, rate yourself in terms of your product knowledge or your product awareness for your existing products. And we'll say rate yourself on a 1 to 5, with 5 being, nobody knows more than I do. And you'd be shocked and surprised how many people actually rate themselves a 2 or a 3 on their own services, and they've worked there for years. And so the product knowledge is obviously a place we have to start.
So what do you do to train them? I mean, people you think they know it, right? They're around it all the time.
That's always the key. What we tend to find is identifying what are the areas where they're uncomfortable, and then help them get comfortable with it, right? Educate them on the products first. Make sure they have the products in hand in their homes, and that's always a key factor. Reduce pricing for your staff or free. That's always key. But in terms of training, consistency is the key, right? And don't get frustrated with staff, and just continue to motivate, encourage, and inspire them. Little kick in the pants when they might need it, but as long as the training is consistent, that's something we really focus on. So you do the on-site training and then monthly training and webinars, and you continue to motivate and then hold people accountable, right? Because at some point, when we've done all this, if we still don't have staff that are recognizing and growing, they have to understand that there's going to be some accountability there. It's important.
So in the real world, what have you seen as far as, like return on investment on this, the training versus, sales afterwards?
Yeah, well, what's interesting, that's always the key factor, right? So let's invest in training, but then let's make sure we're seeing the margin after the fact. So we always want to focus on the fact, after we leave, we do a lot of tracking in terms of making sure that the staff are actually doing the things that we suggest that they do. But because we're tracking them, we can tell what they're not comfortable with, and then we can go right back in and help them get more comfortable with that. So the staffs that are really engaged do really well. We see the return much quicker. But not only the staffs, making sure that the managers and the supervisors are holding those folks accountable to those. And so we always see the return there. Sometimes it's just a little faster depending on how engaged everybody is.
So how do you track them?
We do a lot of call monitoring with the staffs, and so our customers will actually send us the calls. We'll go through and score based on the criteria that the company has set up before we go in and do the training, so that we can determine from as soon as we leave and we begin monitoring that, we can see it firsthand.
And so you do a lot of that remotely then, or?
A lot of it remotely. So all of our staff that actually do the call monitoring have worked as a customer service rep in these rural areas, whether they're vice presidents of customer service or have run call centers. We use those type of people so that they know exactly firsthand what it's like to be in those people's seats.
Yeah, and of course you've come from this background just very recently, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of grew up in telecom at North Central in Tennessee, and then I moved on and have worked at NRTC and also Valley Telecom in Arizona. And in all of those positions, we have worked with product development and marketing and customer service and sales. And we've been talking about these things for 15 and 20 years, and we're just now starting to see significant movement in that direction, but it's something we have to continue to push forward.
Well, it seems like the telcos have the advantage over those conglomerates in the sense that they have feet on the street in the community, right?
Yeah, they absolutely do. So local, right? That's always what everybody says is our main factor of why people would want to do business with us. But that's not enough, right? So our staff, in terms of being local, that's great, but we still have to give more unique experiences, right? And this whole culture shift that we're trying to move towards in terms of a sales environment, it's not even sales. It's more about, let's just educate our customers. Let's make sure we're educated, and then if we can educate the customers and they really feel like they have a partner they can come to learn about these products, and they can get hands-on experience, you're not going to be able to walk into these major companies and have hands-on experiences like they can with us. And so it's just a lot of unique sets of points of customer interaction that we really have to focus on.
But it sounds like it starts with training. So Jeremy, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.